you for taking a ride on the Freedom Train podcast series. I am your host, Joseph Ward, and riding with me today is my homie, Patrick Irvin, and my homegirl, Tammy Houston Irvin, Texas, riding with us up in here on the Freedom Train podcast series. And remember, the Freedom Train podcast series is brought to you by PAX Inc. That's PACTSINC. And PAX Inc. is a black advocacy organization aimed at developing the black community to its maximum potential through a focus on economics and education with the traits of hard work, honesty, and integrity. And for more information, make sure you visit www.pactsinc.org. That way you can look around the website and learn as much as you want to about the organization. Also, click on the button that says the codes to learn more about the codes of conduct that PAX Inc. have created for the black community, and as well as check out the education section. I'm telling you, a whole lot of information in there that you and your family can go through and learn as much as you can about being black and loving your blackness. While you're online, make sure you visit the Freedom Train website at www.freedomtrainradio.com. We are a growing entity, and we have new things on the site all the time. Make sure you check out all of our shows. Our weekly lineup is Monday, you get the Fixed Sports Podcast. Every Wednesday, you get the Freedom Train Podcast series, as well as the live showing of Office Hours with Professor Carlton Jones and Erica Tobert. And then Thursdays, you get Lessons from the Screen with Patrick Irvin. And it's all going down the whole week right here on the Freedom Train Network. Oh, yeah, and Friday, you get the podcast of Professor Carlton Jones' Office Hours on the Google Play Store, iTunes, and Stitcher. See, I ain't forget that. See,
you forgot Saturday.
Oh yeah, Saturday. I did forget that. Saturday, check out the On the Shows of Giants podcast on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. So yeah, I did forget that. There you go. There you go. Hey man.
And our show is probably gonna drop on Friday.
What's your show? Tell them about your show.
Tea Time Black Women Talk. It's a group of us getting together to share perspectives of the black community from the black woman. And we're trying to stand alongside of our brothers to rebuild our nation.
And so you say the show is definitely dropping on Friday?
That's where we at.
Definitely. Ooh, shit was going down. It's going down. Y'all heard them right here on the Freedom Train podcast series. It's going down. So, oh yeah, I ain't finished saying my stuff. So
Sorry.
make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram. So Twitter is Freedom Train Net. Instagram is Freedom Train Network. Like our Freedom Train Facebook page. Subscribe to us on YouTube, and always subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. And it goes down right here on the Freedom Train Network, where you get all this good, all this good shows, all this good information, all this good energy for black folk. So, Pat, Pam, what we talking about today?
Well, it's a social discussion. It's a social discussion. So, we figure we would talk about some social shit, right? Right.
So, I hope so. Hey, man, but I'm in the state of Florida. So, one of the social things that happened not too long ago was the school shooting, the white boy who shot up the school. And that prompted us to want to talk more about the school shootings and the way that the media like to spin these school shootings, especially because it's white boys. And then we also want the second half of the show to, kind of talk about Black History Month and the importance of Black history and, kind of what it means to us individually. Kind of make sure we don't let the month go out without us leaving our marks and leaving our statements about Black History Month. Because we got to celebrate us 365 days out of the year. So, we want to start talking about these school shootings. So, what was about a week ago, right, where the white boy shot up the school here in Florida?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Nicholas,
I'm sorry,
Nicholas Cruz.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say his name, Nicholas Cruz. So what do you know about it? What have you read about this so far?
Well, the boy was a part of a white supremacist group that I'm not even going to bother saying their name because they don't need their name said. But the group believes that Florida should be an independent Anglo-Saxon nation, they believe Florida should be an independent white nation. And while they've disavowed Nicholas Cruz and said that he acted as a lone agent, pictures of their operations chart have come out, which clearly show that they intend to use lone agents, lone wolves, lone operatives as part of their operational strategy, which, right, begs the question of, was he truly a lone agent, or was this part of their operation, and now they're using, plausible deniability, which was something that was more than likely built into their model. But in any case, this young man apparently had been having problems with girls, was a social misfit, socially disturbed, so they say. The FBI was actually called about him weeks before he actually committed the shooting. There were numerous people reporting not only to the FBI but also to local law enforcement about this kid before he committed this shooting. In some kind of way, he still managed to slip through all the cracks and commit the shooting. Now the FBI is saying they filled all of the calls in the nation to one call center. They decided that instead of having your call be directed to a local field office, all calls will be fielded at a professionally staffed call center, I believe in Virginia, in Virginia. And what they're saying is, for some reason, the information, and it was allegedly very, very specific about this kid and what he wanted to do, but for some reason that information never left the call center and made it to the Miami field offices. So they're trying to figure out what happened there. But I don't know. They are putting the spin on it that he was just some crazy white boy, depressed, blah, 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 blah. But if he took the time to plan this out and all this and all that, I don't know how crazy they want us to really believe he is.
I guess one of my things is, so far there have been 18 school shootings this year. It's only February 25th. But we know when white boys shoot up schools, or matter of fact, just period, when white boys get caught doing these mass shootings and things, the first thing they try to put out there is like mental instability. And that just pissed me off. Because, a little black dude can get, like a 10-year-old black boy can get caught stealing and be treated as an adult, a social misfit, a criminal. This is a person who's a menace to society. These white boys intentionally plan to plot out the murder of a good number of people, carry out that plot and plan, and then when it's all said and done, they have mental instability. And I'm like, man, they got, like, white supremacists got their shit together, but it's just straight bullshit. But also, like, my biggest thing is, because this is twofold, because now, they had all the kids march to the Capitol. I'm here in Tallahassee, Florida, so all the kids marched up here to the Capitol. Now, luckily, everything I had to do that day, I missed that shit. Now, I'm not against people standing up and having their voice, but I am against, I hate to see those kids taking that march and coming up here to the Capitol, and us knowing damn well that them adults don't really give a shit about them kids like that. Knowing damn well that them adults really just having them kids exercise, because they're screaming, and the kids are passionate, and I don't want them kids to be burnt out early when they really realize that the system is full of shit, that them adults don't really give a fuck about them, because these adults really just trying to make money off of all this stuff. And it's just, it's sad to see. And then it's like white people get off with the mental instability. You got these kids marching for gun control, and then the whole gun control thing is not necessarily really going to happen like it needs to happen, because not a lot of people is going to, show up for because there's too much politics into it, too much industry, too much commerce, too much capitalism, and like at the end of the day, that's the stuff that kind of pisses me off about this whole thing. Is the real solution is going to have to come when people stop being brought off. The real solution is going to have to come when truth to power can be put out. Because another question is going to be have to be answered is, what's going on in these environments that these white boys in is causing all these little crazy white boys to loke up to the point that they shoot up damn schools. And see, that's going to have a lot of people answering a lot of uncomfortable questions, in my opinion, when it comes to these school shootings, because these are things that we know don't have to happen. And then also the ease to buy guns. Like, you know, I know here in Tallahassee, we hear people talk about it all the time. Hey, man, just go to a gun show. You can get you a gun. And it's very simple. I do believe people should have the right to bear arms, but certain arms you don't need, and it shouldn't be easy to bear arms. But, I mean, this shit is so multi-layered and so fucked up from top to bottom. It just make me mad seeing all that energy that those young folk got, but knowing that it's wasted energy, but also on the back end, knowing that ain't nobody doing nothing to remedy the cultural situation and the normalization and socialization of these psychopaths. So that's the angle I'm coming at this. Am I crazy?
No, you made a lot of good points, and like if we go back, okay, so in terms of the number of school shootings, you're right. There have been 17 or 18 of them. Now we have to break that out too, because 3 of those shootings were accidental firings, accidental discharges. You can ask yourself, well, they shouldn't have had a gun in school premises anyway.
Well,
if you
I heard about one of those.
Discharge. 7 of those involved no injuries or fatalities. And then, the rest of them were the mass shootings that we think about when we think about mass shootings. So, we have to break those numbers out. But even to that, you made a valid point, because a lot of us are asking, why aren't these shootings happening on school grounds? You know what I'm saying? Like, why are on black schools in the hood, schools that are predominantly black? And that, that speaks to a lot of, because, black kids are having the same issues that white kids have.
Yes. So what's so different?
Well, I think for me personally, and granted I'm not an expert, but I think it has to do a lot in how we resolve conflicts and how we view conflicts. Like in the black community, if I got a beef with you, my beef is with you. It's not with the entire senior class. It's not with all the teachers and shit. And even if you're the kid that's getting picked on, because I spent a good amount of time being a dark-skinned black dude in schools getting picked on. I never had a beef with the entire school. My beef was specific to the people that was beefing with me.
Look here, in middle school alone, I used to go home, especially when people found out I was wearing Shaq shoes. See, but my house burnt down. A lot of people, they didn't know, but all they knew I had Shaq shoes on. And so when I used to go home with my self-esteem in the mud every day. But but you're right though. My beef is with, and not to trivialize the school shootings, but if Taquan got beef with Jaquan, Taquan gonna bring the gun to school to shoot Jaquan. But if he got beef,
why can't his name be Tyler?
Kyler, a black boy?
I'm just saying.
Nah, ain't no Kylers, all right?
I said Tyler.
Right. Tyler. Nah. Kyler, Tyler, none of that, all right?
You're being real stereotypical right now.
You're right. But still, like, the black dude's but like you're saying, the black dude's going to shoot the black dude. They're going to shoot the person that they mad at. And it'll be a shooting at school. The white dude's coming in there, the white boys coming in to spray up the school to kill as many people as possible. And it's something behind that to me, it's like a predatory mindset. It's like, I have to get off on killing this many people so I can feel good about myself, something like that. Like they trying to regain their power of control or something.
I think it is that. Because you go back, like if we're going back to the black example, those black kids, like shooting isn't even the first option. We going to fight first.
Yeah, we got to put your hands on it.
Physical fist fight. If I'm bringing a gun to school then either I'm a punk, a coward, and don't know black person. I don't care what age. We ain't at an age yet where being considered a punk or a coward is a good thing. So either I'm a punk or a coward, in which case I'm not going to showcase it, or you've been whooping my ass steady for a long time, and I know I can't beat you.
Yeah.
Those are the only two examples I can see where a black kid would, and even like you said, even then, if I'm going to shoot somebody, it's going to be you. I think you get into, with white kids, you get into the sense of entitlement, you get into power and control dynamics like you mentioned earlier, you get into a whole bunch of psychological issues that, in my opinion, all mostly revolve around some sort of entitlement complex or some sort of belief that you're powerless in a situation that you shouldn't be powerless in. Other people should be treating you differently than they are, and mass generalizations that would suggest that everybody that is not assisting me in this situation is complicit in my quote-unquote oppression. You get into all those things, and that was just a few that come to mind. But, you know, like I said, I think it all centers around like a massive entitlement complex that a lot of these white kids have. You apply pressure to that situation, and they crack. They don't know what to do with it. They're not equipped for it. They don't, you know, and nowadays with all of this anti-bullying this, anti-bullying that, and every time there is a school shooting, that builds up the next kid to be more comfortable with doing it. Yeah. You know, now you got people sitting in the classroom saying, don't pick on people because he might come to school and shoot the school up, not realizing that just by you saying that, you're encouraging that type of behavior from some nut job who's wondering how to get all of these people to stop messing with. I just think the whole system, the way it's set up from top to bottom for these white boys is broken. Black boys don't have the level of support and comfortability that is required to develop that sort of twisted sense of self, that sort of twisted world outlook, you know. And so, in my opinion, that's what we beefing with. In terms of the kids coming to Tallahassee, you know, like that's another fucked up situation because the adults in the situation knew damn well that them kids weren't really going to be able to accomplish anything, especially not during an election year. Especially not during an election year. Yes, I'm repeating it. I'm on my Umar Johnson right now.
Now, what thing was passed while the kids was on their way up here to Tallahassee? What was that again?
And I'm not familiar with the specifics of the legislation, but there was a legislation that was circulating through the Florida legislature to increase the difficulty with which people could be able to purchase guns,
and that was rejected, correct?
Assault weapons and things of that nature. So that was on the docket, and it got voted down while the kids were still on the bus en route to Tallahassee. And it's pretty clear those kids weren't going to be able to make much of a difference anyway. Florida is one of the most pro-gun states in the nation.
Bruh,
period.
Look here. If I'm here in Tallahassee, when I tell you, what was that, Thursday? Wednesday or Thursday, those kids marched up here?
Yeah, they got on the bus. I think that was like Thursday or something like that, yeah.
Okay. Now, let me tell you what I was doing Thursday. I was doing outreach with about 10 FAMU students at the Tony Store on Lake Bradford Road. When I tell you, this city didn't even feel the impact of those students.
No.
Because it was doomed from the beginning. And like I said, I'm not saying that in the sense of that the kids was messing up. This has nothing to do with the kids. It's all the adults. We have to do our damn parts as adults to help these damn kids make sure that their voice is being heard, make sure that their energy is being used in the proper way. And if we ain't doing that shit, we ain't doing it but putting more disdain and discouragement in some of these kids who are going out here putting their shit on the line to try to make changes because they see that these adults ain't shit. And so they're talking about how, I saw articles and things of how kids are arguing with Marco Rubio and all these things that they're talking about with the gun control. And these rich white dudes ain't giving up their guns. They ain't giving up these things. They're not giving up their ties, their allegiances and all these things. It's fucked up from the beginning, and that's horrible. And it's like the state of Florida, man. I mean, it don't like it. Growing up, I didn't know that Florida was considered one of the crazy states. Now that I'm a grown man and I realize that Florida is considered one of the crazy states, I see why. We full of crazy white people, man. We full of crazy white people.
It ain't just the rich white men. It's the poor white people. It's the middle class white people. Like nobody wants to, and it's the black people that own guns too. Nobody wants to, and like that's a whole nother discussion. We can get into that in terms of black gun ownership, because I do think black people should own guns, but nobody wants to be responsible about the situation and look at it and say it is to. And I agree with you. The failure is on the adults, because those adults at this point in time, we need to be teaching our kids how to fully and correctly and efficiently utilize the political process. You lobbying your political officials as a group of 30 or 40 or even 100 is not enough. You going up to their offices to do little sleep-ins and stuff like, that's cute. It'll generate some media attention, but it ain't going to move the damn needle, because at the end of the day, you got to understand, for people that are, and the problem with South Florida in particular is that the state is so long. So things that happen in South Florida, people in North Florida don't really give a shit about. And the seat of power is in North Florida. If this shooting had happened in Tallahassee, you might be gaining a little bit more traction. But this shit happened 8 hours away. 8 hours away. You can cross 3 or 4 states in 8 hours.
Now, the thing that did, let me tell you what did happen. Either, I think it was Thursday or Friday, somebody called Godby High School and threatened to shoot up. Well, I don't know if they called, but they threatened to shoot up Godby High School. Some team, and that team was arrested. Don't know if that team was black or white. But that's not the first time a school has been threatened to be shot up here in Tallahassee.
Yeah.
And it still hasn't moved the needle, because remember, you was there, you and Tammy was there. Remember when Columbine happened?
Mm-hmm.
And then the next day somebody said that they was gonna shoot up Ricketts.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we talking about 2001. Huh?
I said I definitely remember that.
So we talking about 2001. This is 2018. And it still hasn't moved the needle to get anybody to do anything different other than, incorporating active shooter drills. Like, you got to do more than incorporate goddamn active shooter drills.
But
like
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No,
I was just going to say real quick, like, oh, shit, go ahead, my bad.
No, I knew that was going to happen. Go ahead.
No, but it was this, I forgot where I was reading it. I think it was here in Florida. A lady was talking about how her daughter came home crying because of her shoes. And the lady was like, well, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with your shoes? She was like, my shoes light up. She's like, okay, I know you wanted light up shoes. I brought you light up. She was like, yeah, but if a school shooter come, he going to be able to find me. Because, they were going through active shooter drills and all these things here. And you have to be able to, like, what else is going to support these active shooter drills? Because you can't just be like, hey, well, we just waiting on the shooter to come in. Nah, we don't want no motherfucking shooter to come in.
Well, I think part of the problem with the political process is what you just illustrated. We do have to acknowledge that a lot of shooters get stopped before they actually do anything. And we have to understand that those instances actually work against those people who want gun control, because it gives the politicians on the other side the opportunity to say, if we can just do more of this, more of stopping the shootings before they happen, we don't need gun control and we don't need to tighten gun controls. We need to be doing more of this anyways. Gun control doesn't prevent school shootings. And then, there's on the other side, there is a very powerful and valid argument which says that most of the school shootings and most of the shootings in general, the mass shootings in general that have happened, but especially the school shootings, the person that was doing the shooting was not legally in possession of the firearm. And that is a powerful point to be had. But, you know, that goes into another discussion about resource officers on school. Me and Tam was talking about this. I definitely think there need to be more resource officers on the school premises. Definitely. There needs to be psychologists. And I'm not talking about school psychologists. I'm talking about real psychologists. More of them need to be on campus analyzing these students. Police officers, FBI, field agents, they need to take these calls seriously when they get, because I do believe a lot of these school shooters were reported. And that's why I laugh every time I hear people talking about, you know, the little slogan going around talking about if you see something, say something. And it's like, well, motherfuckers have been saying shit, and they still getting shot up. So, like, you know, like, that's a broken slogan. But, you know, with the gun thing, I don't even know that we're focusing on it the right way, because people keep saying, if I, you know, you can go to a gun show and just purchase a gun, and that's something, you know, we talked about in our little offline line chat. It's not that simple. Like, when you go to a gun show, you can purchase a gun without a background check if you're buying a private gun from a private citizen. If you're buying a gun from a certified weapons dealer, even at a gun show, they still have to do background checks. Now, to that, even if you say, okay, at a gun show, period, you have to do a background check, private purchase or not, what's to stop a person from still selling their gun privately, just not doing it at a gun show, just doing it out of their house? Instead of meeting me at the gun show, meet me at my crib. And you know, like, I'll hook you up still without doing a background check. So the gun show loophole is not really a gun show loophole. It's a private citizen loophole, and that's there so that people can exchange goods amongst each other without having to go through a lot of the bureaucratic paperwork and things. Now, if we want to eliminate that, then all right, whatever. You know, just be prepared for what comes out. But I don't know that that's necessarily the answer. I think, and then at the same time, you don't want to take, because I don't hunt, so I don't understand the pleasure and enjoyment these guys get from using an assault weapon to take down a deer or a buck or a rabbit. I don't understand that, so I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I do get it. But you know, like, we gotta have a serious. We do need to have a serious conversation. If crazy motherfuckers can get access to guns to have 7 mass group murders on school campuses so far this year, and we still in February, then we need to sit down and have a talk about how these crazy motherfuckers keep getting access to weapons they shouldn't have access to. And that has to involve making it more difficult for people to get weapons. That's the only real solution.
Yeah. Now, one thing I do find interesting about this particular shooting is Cruz is 19, so his ass been graduated. Now, he graduated and came back to the school and shot it up. What type of punk shit is that? What type, like, that's loser written all over it. That's chronic masturbator written all over it. Like, you got to come back to the school after you graduated. You still mad? Like, you still mad at people for talking about you, picking on you? Like, that's classic counseling that's needed and things. And like you said, in this particular case, the FBI was warned about this buddy. He was still given you know, the go after they supposedly looked into him and everything. But it's like, I mean, something else has to be done now. I think, me as a black person, my thing is, if police got a gun, I want to have a right to have a gun. Because police and nobody ain't finna catch me without a gun, but it should not be easy for people to get guns. Like, it should be more expensive. I mean,
but I mean, it's gonna be like drugs. I mean, shit, drugs are illegal. People get them all the time. I mean, I don't think you can solely address. I don't think address. I mean, should they buckle down? Yeah, but I don't think that buckling down is going to do a whole lot of good. It's the state of the people. It's the state of mind.
Yeah.
It's really. I mean, like I said, it's just more so. It's the state of mind and the resources in the area, I think.
Well, I do agree. Going back to what I was saying earlier, I do agree. Like, you got to do something about the crazy white boys. But at the same time, I would feel more comfortable if dope boy number 17 down the street didn't have easy access to an AR-15 either, no more than crazy white boy. So that's just me.
Where the conversation becomes interesting when you talk about access is in a lot of states, you can't get a handgun until you're 21, but you can get an assault weapon at 18.
Yeah.
And granted, you can't even buy a drink at 18 in no state. So
Yeah.
that, so I can't, I'm not old enough to handle my liquor, but I'm old enough to handle everybody's lives around me. Like,
Yeah.
that's broken. And
I mean,
we could go down the list with how stupid
it's all messed up. But see, that's why I'm angry about. Well, yeah, I'm angry about this, and more so for the kids, man. I just hate to see wasted energy in the youth because the adults fucking stuff up. But also at the same time, nobody's addressing these crazy white boys. Like Tammy just said, like what we gonna do about the crazy white boys? How we handling crazy white boys? Because now we gotta talk to white people parents.
I mean, we have to, though, and I think a lot of this has to do with the way we're raising our kids. Everybody's raising their kid to think they special, to be entitled, and I know nobody wants to talk about that, but I do think that the way we're collectively raising our kids to be some punk-ass motherfuckers that can't stand any sort of pressure or strain, I think that has a lot to do with this. When you're in a positive environment and you being raised like that, things don't work out things they're not too bad. But when the situation goes negative and you've been raised to be massively entitled, you get a situation where you lash out at the world because you blame the world for the things that are happening to you. And so, we get into I agree with you, we get into the parents in that regard. I think we do need common sense gun control laws. I do think that, even though I'm 100% all day, it's a psychological issue. I do think, and I know people are going to look at me or say that I'm crazy for saying it, but I actually agree with the notion that, guns don't kill people, people kill people. I agree with that notion. Now, I also understand that guns make it extremely easy to kill people. I do understand that notion, and I need people to understand that. But nowadays, people are acting like they don't understand what people mean when they make basic phrases like that, and it barricades the way to a real argument. And that's a Republican phrase. I understand that, and I still say I understand it and agree with it because it makes fucking sense.
I mean,
a gun by itself doesn't kill anybody.